If you build it, he will come.
Well, folks, this is the time of the calendar year where you do not want to miss a singular thing in MLW Wiffle. 8 teams are now narrowed down to 6 as the weak are extinguished, and the strong only prove their strength further into a 2-month journey where teams get eliminated weekly en route to crowning a champion. The overachievers, underdogs, and those who should finally be back in the place they are in right now. Personalities, talent, all sorts of electricity, entertainment value as much as actual playing talent. Absolute anarchy is about to take place in Brighton at the Meadows. What 6 teams do we have this time subjected to the madness of the MLW postseason?
Sweet shot and it around over the monster, the Coastal Cobras.
Lord must be looking down at the Meadows because the Coastal Cobras finally achieved something. They won something. The Snakes got themselves the #1 seed after all the pieces finally came together for the team that has been consistently underachieving, humiliated, and mocked by fans league-wide to go ahead and win the AL pennant. Nothing much has changed though. Even without Drew Davis, these dudes can still go toe-to-toe with any team in a very competitive fashion. Led by the Red Baron on the mound, these guys were able to plow through the Predators and defeat the Diamondbacks 2-1 as well. Both Flynn and Durant have played their roles and achieved greatness in a pivotal game deciding destiny. And somehow it's Sawyer freaking Bean that has exploded at the plate, and he also went 8 innings in a singular game against former MVP Jimmy Norb en route to an ALCS berth. Everything is now up to the Cobras. They've proven that they can give any team a run for their money, and Drew isn't even intervening as a manager anymore. For the love of God, if these guys find a way to pull off their typical Cobra choke and fail to win a playoff series, it may be one of the funniest, yet saddest, and colossal collapses in the history of the franchise.
At the field of dreams in Essex, Vermont. Sweet shot to left field, and that one.
Tommy Coughlin has to be a criminal. This young engineer cooked up one of the biggest fleeces in MLW history last year, drafted the best whiffler in the country, and somehow the Midwest Mallards have 11-4 record this season and the first overall pick in the 2023 offseason. This has to be some kind of sick joke. What's also a sick joke is this team's second half schedule though. Sure, Caden Irwin and Brendan Davenport both looked potent on the mound, and Jesus Robles and Thomas Coughlin carried the offensive load with frequent support from Irwin, but all 6 of these wins in the second half were against teams that went a combined 0-12 in that half and 5-25 in the overall season. How can you judge how good this team is properly when they took on all of Trenton and smoked them, which isn't a tough task, mind you, smoke them, but then be outscored by nearly 20 runs and swept with invisible hitting against the Eastern Eagles, their #1 rival in the NL that has 5 potent bats that can work their magic at any time? Yeah, they crushed some bad teams. Yes, it's good momentum heading into the playoffs, and yes, it's Jordan freaking Robles on the mound. I'm not fully in yet though. Say what you want, but I won't be surprised if these Ducks find a way to Mallard it up and get absolutely demolished by the Eagles again. That's just typical Mallard behavior right there.
That's Tommy, and that will be a mercy. In the left center field, carrying and go.
Well, goddamn, you can't keep this Eternal Dynasty down for long. An absolutely wild second half for the Cats as this big 3 managed to do it again, another double-digit win season. Remember how I said these guys lacked consistency? Schultz's average has shot up to 344 and he's got 13 hits in the second half. Invisible Man Sailor has not laid off the gas at all. Pearson is putting the bat to ball and has had critical home runs in that last series for the Cats. And somehow Ty freaking Smith of all people had a home run. It's becoming comical to the point where Jackson Pearson was able to throw a complete game win against the Metro Magic. They literally beat Jason Chadwick in every game they played the second half. Let's just make one thing known though. They only took care of business against crappy teams. What happens when they face AL rivals of competence that they've gotten only 2-4 against this season? Both the Cobras and Pacific Predators have their respective Cy Young candidates in Ryan Cratch and Brendan Baranowski. The Wildcats lineup can fall into another coma and not wake up en route to another elimination. The path isn't easy as it always has been. Kevin Herter and co need to actually lock in now. They aren't playing against these struggling Trenton boys anymore for 6 straight games.
Got him looking, and the Cats win game 1. After that fielder's choice. Sweet shot! Dan! No! Red! Slow!
Some things in life are predictable. The weather in Brighton on a weekday in January. The Detroit Lions of the modern day. Dallas Allen allowing a run this season. The fact that Jonah Heath of all people was the one to get those first runs off of Allen speaks enough questions. All of a sudden, the Golden Child ace seems to be prone to allowing runs, surrendering 3 losses in the second half. The once deep 5-man lineup is slowly diminishing as Blade Walker and Landon Urgaitis' averages fit with the month of October as they progressively creep into a very eerie state of the 200 mark. Whalen and Schultz continue to provide their veteran leadership through their 300 plus averages, but the pitching is just not there right now. This is a situation that needs to be solved immediately as the Birds are now also struggling to string together runs at the same caliber they once were, averaging 2.6 runs, 4 and 3.5 runs allowed per game in the second half compared to 4 runs per game and then only 0.2 allowed in the first half. The Eagles are running out of gas and not at the ideal time. At the rate they're going, they may barely stumble with the win out of the NLDS and become a live dinner for the Mallards if our third NL team doesn't find a way to shock the world and get to them first.
Alec, and they win the series in the first. Oh, Russell does just that!
Well, I guess you could still consider these guys contenders. Not too sure what happened after smoking the Magic en route to the best regular season midpoint record in 3 years. A solid first half followed by an abysmal performance against the Cobras and then all of a sudden a return to form against the Eagles. You can't really put the blame on Ryan Kratz because the guy's been putting MVP caliber numbers across the board for the entire season. Brendan Russell and Alec Warda have a combined 10 home runs, yet suddenly shut the hell off against Bean and Red Baron, letting that drop ball dominate them like TC3 finally brought back his 12-6. Not much to say about the other mediocrity surrounding the club. McGlade, Hawley, Ramirez are all great backup options come to ALDS. Wait, the ALDS? What the hell happened to that 2-game lead over the closest division opponent that you had? I guess Warda going 0 for 11 in a day didn't mean well for the rest of the squad. Now they gotta face a rolling Cats group, but in all honesty, Crouch can shut down anybody with the way he's playing as of late. This is the Predators series to lose. There is one team stopping this terrific trio of guys from doing it all this season, and that is themselves. They better not dare to lay a dud like they did against Davis and the Cobras.
Coastal Coke. 3 shot to left. God!
I really wish I could be more optimistic about the Diamondbacks heading into the postseason. Some of the most likable guys in MLW are on this team, and there's no sugarcoating that. However, this team has been really disappointing this season. Jimmy Norp did exactly what he does best, and that's put up his individual MVP numbers to help his team out, batting above 350, and he had an ERA that eventually dropped to below 250. Jonah Heath has batted 280 in the second half, heating up at the right time with 3 shots off of a top Eagles squad. Shima somehow defied his own expectations once again and hit a nuke into the corner at the Field of Dreams, but what's left to say about Flood and Bennett? They're still young rooks that will get their shots, and they've had their opportunities on the mound, showing flashes of potential, but there's nothing consistent enough yet. Sure, the boys went 3-3 in the second half against top dogs in the league. They're heating up at the right time. But the boys have not lived up to the hype at all this season. Hell, the lack of living up to expectations is what's fueled Shima's and Heath's struggles. With pressure on to do well again, both of them didn't perform, especially in the first half. Those 2/3 of a lineup are on the right track, but their play behind Jimmy Norp is vital for Diamondback success. Not to mention, the team's lack of a consistent second pitcher and struggling pitching depth may mean Jimmy pitches throughout the entirety of the playoffs. It can very well win the entirety of the World Series, but right now their own demons are damn stopping them. Forget about that. Lock the hell into these playoffs.
Diamondbacks greatly improved their chances.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the most prestigious time of the year for the MLW calendar, and this time around, not only are these guys playing for a shot at the title, there is a 1 in 3 chance they make a trip out to play in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Yes, the 2022 World Series is going to be played on the same field that the LA Rams won the Super Bowl and the greatest Super Bowl halftime show lineup performed. Dreams come true, destiny will be achieved, hearts will be broken. It's time for players, fans, viewers alike to lock in for the biggest postseason in Wiffle Ball League history. The 2022 Road to SoFi begins now.
It's the MVP chance, yeah!